pass our executive record into public meeting notice.
Notice of the meeting was given in the following manner. Notice of the meeting was transmitted to the Home News Tribune. Said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were filed to the office of the city clerk on May 21st, 2018. And said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were promptly posted on the announcement board in the lobby of City Hall, 78 Bayer Street, at least 48 hours prior to the convening of this meeting.
Roll call.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Dunlap.
Here.
Mr. Waldy.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani is not. Commissioner Armando is not. Chair?
Here.
Okay, we have one.
Do we have another?
Oh, Mr. Giorgiani, yes.
Yes, we have another. Good.
Pledge of allegiance, Chair.
Yeah. Reading the pledge.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Why don't we begin with new business?
Sure.
Resolution.
Okay, this is resolution number 12. Is a resolution ratifying, authorizing, and approving the payment of bills for the month of March 2018.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Discussion? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Commissioner Waldy.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Resolution number 13 is a resolution ratifying, authorizing, and approving the payment of bills for the month of April 2018.
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? No? Roll call.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Here.
Commissioner Waldy.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Resolution number 14 is a resolution authorizing and approving the State of New Jersey budget for all programs and operations for FY 6/30/19. Should be 19.
Should be 19.
Yes, sir.
Right. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Sure, as you know, the budgets are required to be submitted annually to the state based on the estimates of funding and operations. This is an annual requirement, and we're proposing the budget for tonight be adopted. The next resolution will actually be an authorizing budget that will authorize us to do a submission of it afterwards.
Okay, great. Roll call.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Here.
Commissioner Waldy.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution number 15. Resolution approving the late submission of the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick's budget.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll
Chair,
call.
just for point of information, because we didn't have a meeting last month, we are required to actually adopt the budget before we submit it, so we couldn't submit it until we just took the action to adopt it. So that's why we're submitting it now, even though technically we're still far beyond and in advance of the actual requirement. I'm sorry, the date of the start of the budget. The state requires a 60-day prior submission, which we could not do because we didn't have a meeting.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
I
sir.
have a question.
Yeah, the lateness is because of HUD, right? HUD's,
Correct, I'm sorry, and as Commissioner Waldy pointed out, HUD's subsidy amounts and capital fund amounts were not given to us actually by that time anyway. We just received the subsidy amounts. We still, as of today, have not received the capital fund allocation amounts. So the budget is purely based on estimates, because the allocation amounts from HUD, which are required by statute to be released in March, haven't been released yet.
And so we're federally funded, so any shortfall, any problems comes from the federal government.
Correct. They would be through the allocation from the federal government, whatever proration they get from the budget.
I just want people to understand. Okay, roll call.
On the motion, Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldy?
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani?
Yes.
And Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 16 is, resolution number 16 is a resolution approving and adopting the New Brunswick Housing Authority Capital Fund Policy.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Commissioner
Roll call.
Dunlap seconded?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Mr. Waldy?
yes.
Mr. Giorgiani?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 17 is a resolution approving and adopting the revised Housing Authority, New Brunswick Housing Authority Internal Controls Policy.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Sure, as you know, Chair, we had a change in our operation structure with the passing of our Director of Operations. The policy is being revised to remove that position and component and replaced with the Finance Administrator now. So there's a dual and tri review and approval process now for the actions within the internal control. So you always have the segregated reviews and secondary reviews for the main items, and then the third would be the fee accountant. So rather than have Executive Director, Director of Operations, and fee accountant, we now have Executive Director, Director of Finance, and fee accountant.
Fee accountant, makes sense. Great, roll call.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 18 is a resolution recognizing the resident council of Schwartz Robeson Homes as the representatives of public housing programs for the New Brunswick Housing Authority.
I'll move it.
Second? Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we're, this is the comment. It's very excited about this, and so good luck. And we hope to really learn from it. Is there, I guess, roll call?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Chair, my report will stand. I do want to obviously welcome our new commissioner, who is no stranger to the Housing Authority. I do want to also congratulate the resident council. The three top members are here. And I also want to recognize and thank Councilwoman Rebecca Escobar for her work throughout the entire process. It was invaluable, not only in oversight and third-party standpoint, but also in translation, literally. So, you know, I'm very, very hopeful that we'll have a really good working relationship. We do plan on actually meeting, even though they've been meeting with Bill Elias on some of the bylaws and other things and the rec functions that they're now, I believe, ready to move forward on. But we're going to be meeting tomorrow officially to begin our partnership discussions and some of the areas that we feel they can really help us with in the resident population, as well as some of the areas that we're going to work on with them otherwise. But I do want to recognize them, I want to congratulate them, and obviously I'm really looking forward to this.
I will say that, you know, in the New Brunswick Public Schools, we have an exchange program with a number of cities, but Hungary is one of them. And so we have some Hungarian guests coming on Friday, and I looked at my phone and got this app, which is really amazing. I mean, literally, I can speak Hungarian, basically, through the app. So as we're looking to make sure that we are inclusive and that we're communicating with everybody, technology is our friend. It really is amazing. So with that, any other old business?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move to item number 6 on the agenda, the public comment. Is there any public comment? And again, as a reminder, we're keeping it 5 minutes. I'm using my watch to time.
Okay.
Any public comment?
Yes.
Okay, please come to the podium and state your name.
Okay, my name is Beryl Mason. And the first comment I have is, I want to know why they keep moving our money from bank to bank, our security money.
Okay, would you answer that?
Chair, so the security deposits that we have for the residents are in Bank of America. Bank of America no longer has the multi-security deposit offering. This is the first time in probably the 20 years that I've been here that we are now going to be utilizing PNC Bank, which we already have an account with, to move tenant security deposits plus whatever interest. They have to be held by law in an interest-bearing account, individually segregated to that tenant. PNC offers that on a multi-basis without a fee. Bank of America offers it with a fee, which would then have to be passed on to the tenants. So rather than do that, we're moving that. This is also an opportunity for us to get an updated W-9 that the banks require in order to establish those accounts. We sent out notices to all the residents requiring them to come in, the head of household, to sign that W-9, so then when we move the funds plus the interest, we're able to do that. As part of the state law, we're required to actually notify the tenants of that, and we appreciate the tenants coming in to make sure that their money and their interest gets moved over.
Actually, it was at Wells Fargo or one of the other banks before they moved to Bank of America. Then they moved from Bank of America to this bank. That's why I'm asking the question, why they keep moving it. 'Cause I want to know, because our interest money, my interest money, when it was at the other, I used to get like $5, now I only get 2 cents. And after 20-something years, I'm like, where's the money at?
Well, again, I mean, one thing I will say is social activism with banks. And I was looking at my statement the other day, and I get a balance from it. Used to not charge for a balance. They're charging me to get a balance.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you at the machine, they tell you on your statement. So we need to be more vigilant, you know, as we come out here, we need to challenge the banks to say that's not right for average consumers. So I appreciate you mentioning it.
Okay, another thing I have is, since, you know, I'm in a 2-bedroom, they want to move me to a 1-bedroom, which is a handicapped unit, and I guess I look handicapped, but, you know, I can't say much like that. But this is the problem. They move me to the handicapped unit, and then somebody leaves that unit, then that means I'm getting forced out. If they have a wheelchair walker or, you know, something like that. But this is what I want to know. Since they have to fix that apartment up, and there's an apartment in Wright Place at 27 or 29, and it's the up and down stairs, which I really prefer. Why can't I move there?
Have you, again, it's a great question. Have you asked the executive director prior to this meeting?
Well, every time I ask, everybody's telling me no, nothing's there, nothing's in Parkside, nothing's...
Sharon, I'm sorry, just for clarification, this was a matter that she actually had a grievance hearing with our grievance officer who will rule on that. I don't believe Mr. Elias has ruled on that. That is one of the potential options that's being discussed through the grievance process, because it's a tenant landlord issue. But it's my understanding that she has met with the grievance officer, and that Mr. Elias has not ruled on that.
And the reason I'm saying this is because Elizabeth told me no, because that's not on the market.
Again, that's the reason why we have a grievance officer.
So
the grievance officer she's met with, and I believe he has not ruled on that.
Yeah, so
But that would be a potential option
Right.
through the grievance process.
if there's no ruling, there's nothing we can do.
I really would like to move to Wright Place. I want to get out of Robeson, you know. I like sleeping upstairs because it's safer sleeping upstairs than downstairs.
All right, thank you.
With all the shooting that's been going on.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Please come to the mic and state your name, please. Welcome.
Tricia Sims, hi. Last summer, I brought this to, not the last meeting, but the meeting before with Mr. Clark. Everybody else is telling me that my rent was supposed to go down. Like, I'm working and I'm making half of what I normally make. And I bought the check stubs to Elizabeth. Mr. Clark told me my rent was supposed to go down. Ms. Eaton told me my rent was supposed to go down. Mr. Clark, I wrote you a letter. Did you get the letter? I wrote a letter.
Yeah, I believe that you're talking about a rental adjustment. I think
Right,
Andrea
4 months
actually
last
met.
summer, yes.
Did you meet with Andrea about that?
Well, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Again, Andrea would be the person. I can follow up with her on it. What's the unit number again?
Excuse me?
What's your unit number?
12.
12.
Right place.
Right place, okay. I do remember us talking, and I do remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Elizabeth keep telling me it's not going down. They're going by my annually. I'm just trying to find out how low income works. If
Sure.
I got a raise on my pay, you guys will go up. So my check got decreased. So I don't understand why it's not going down.
So in general, you pay 30% of your adjusted income towards rent. So whatever you make, you pay 30%.
Okay.
So if your income goes up, your rental amount would go up.
Right.
If your income goes down, it would subsequently go down.
Well,
So if that's the
what I'm saying.
case, then obviously, you know,
Because like
I think
said,
that's why
I
we
worked so
talked
hard
about it.
last summer. I worked May, June, July, and August,
Right.
and I was making only $10 an hour, and I was still paying almost $900.
You said you didn't have any adjustment last year?
No.
Okay.
And the same thing about to happen again 3 more weeks.
So, I'm sorry, just real quick, so you said you had no adjustment last year?
No, Elizabeth told me no.
And did she say
She
why?
kept saying no. She kept saying they're going by my annually. And I kept saying, how you going by that if I'm not making that?
So again, you pay 30% of your annual income towards your rent.
I understand, sir.
So are you saying you paid more than that?
Well, like I said, I was making $10 and my pay went down.
Okay.
I normally make like $19 an hour, but my pay went down to $10. I bought 3 pay stubs to Elizabeth last summer for May, June, July, and August.
Right.
I was still paying almost $900 making $10 an hour. I mean, everybody telling me my rent's supposed to go down, and Elizabeth keep telling me no.
So again, I'll follow up with Andrew, because it sounds like there may be something else,
I just need to
another
know.
issue.
Thanks for bringing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll
Thank you.
definitely check on it.
Thank
And that was
you.
12 Right Place, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Yes, please come to the mic. Well, there's no mic, come to the podium.
I'm Nigga Mike. Hello, my name is Dr. Crumedy, and I was a resident of New Brunswick housing for over 10 years, okay? I was living at 47 Wright Place. I had received a letter. My son was a minor. He had got into some trouble. I understand a one-strike deal. Okay, but I was forced to move out my apartment within 30 days, okay? Now that I see that, I understand that one-strike deal, they had said, okay, I was terminated from my apartment. But right now, it have been people still living in public housing to this day from 2006. Is still living in their apartment and their house and actually got raided. My son just went to court. They didn't pay her in court. So by him living with me under a minor, they evicted me out. There now I'm saying this, I'm fighting back with them that now there's people I've been to houses where have been raided and these people is still resigning into public housing. I met with you back in 2006 right here in this very office and you told me to my face that I would never ever be put in public housing.
Chair, the HUD's one-strike policy
Yes,
requires a termination. We have a number of ongoing investigations and one-strike policy actions. I can tell you that units that have been identified and the police are currently working with us on, leases will be terminated.
Okay.
So I can tell you that. If you have a specific unit that you think of, I'll be happy to meet with you afterwards to discuss those, to make sure I get that information.
I'm going to get that information to you.
But I'll make sure that, but just so you know, there are multiple units right now that are currently going forward.
Yes. And they're still,
Some have been raided, some have not.
they still there in their apartment, that they still live there. Okay, during that time, the same thing, my daughter had put in an application. Okay, under the application, it says resign, where do you live at? She resigned with me, I'm head of my household. So she used my address. You turned her down because on a simple fact, they asked her where she lived. At that time, she was living with me. You still deny her every application that she put in, they're still denying her because she still resigns with me. So why is that they keep on denying her over her application? She working, and they still denying her because on a simple fact, she was living with me. She was 18. And that's an issue what I have with Hampton. That's just why I'm here today to speak up because you have people here living with other people still living there and she can't get an apartment with public housing. She don't have nothing to do with it. She resided at my address. That's where she lived. And you study denying her.
So Chair, if a person who's an illegal tenant uses a public housing address and is not on the lease, we're required to deny it at the application process. I think I just heard you say you now don't live in public housing and she applied and she was denied? Separate from your public housing unit?
But that's where she resigned at. She resigned with me.
Well, you said after you moved out of public housing.
She still was living with me, yes.
So that sounds, and again, I'll speak to you afterwards because there shouldn't have been a denial if you weren't living in public housing. But if she used your address when you were living in public housing as part of an application, she was not legally on your, and she was not legally on your lease, we're required to deny that.
But she was 18, she was still living with me.
There's no age, you're not understanding. If she used your address and she was not a legal tenant, we're required, and you live in public housing, we're required to deny the application. That was the first part of your statement. The second part of your statement, you said even after you moved out, she used your address.
She was still living with me.
She could still live with you outside of here, but as long as you weren't here and living on this property in a public housing unit, then yes, she can use your address because you're no longer a public housing resident.
As long as it's outside of the housing authority.
So I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, I think that we may be able to come to a resolution.
Okay, but you still have people still living in here and still been going through issues and still been with records and they still living in here. She never had a record, I never had a record, and they still living in here.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. And so, as we heard earlier, we're gonna look at that. So,
okay, but you need to look into it because there's a lot of people still living in public housing that have been arrested and houses have been going on, and they still living here.
Okay, well, as I said,
and that's the only issue I have.
We're doing the investigation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Afterwards, can you stay 2 minutes?
Excuse me?
Can you stay 2 minutes afterwards so I can see you?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Excellent.
One more thing to say.
Okay, and just one thing before you say is that, you know, it's important that people understand this is a federal housing authority. A federal housing, so if we don't have money, it's not the city's fault, not the state's fault, it's the federal government's fault. And we have a federal government now that is looking to raise things. So it's great to come to this meeting and say, but I need more people to really say what it's like under the federal rules. And it's important for us to understand that. So understand, you know, when we talk about the rules and regulations, his hands are tied.
I can
They're
understand
tied,
that.
and
I
federal
understand
rules are, you know, I used to be a state official, are much, much stricter than
Right,
they don't
right.
mess around. So, yeah, please, you have another, well, again, I mean, is it something you can, because we typically just have one, that you
I
can.
just want to say, because of the fact that I live in a two-bedroom, and I understand that, you know, they want me to move to a one, because my apartment looks so great, and, you know, when I walked into other places, I was like, oh my God, are you serious? When I seen some of the places. So maybe that's why all the maintenance people and everybody keeps saying my apartment look great.
Thanks, again.
But this is what I want to say. There's people that been here 50 years and more that live in 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, and they have one. They don't have any children either. So why aren't they being moved?
But I think, again, that's a great question, you know, privately, but it has to be specifics. I mean, again, it's great to.
I'm just saying, why aren't they being moved? Because if you're a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend, you sleep in separate rooms, so that's okay, but, you know, it's not okay for me.
All right, well, thanks for your comment. We want to give some other people a chance. All right.
Okay.
Does someone else want to speak? John?
All right.
Okay?
Charlie, go ahead. Oh, you can finish.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. Charles Cradaville, I'm a New Brunswick resident, editor of New Brunswick Today newspaper. I want to start by congratulating and welcoming the new member, Mr. Dunlap. I wish you the best of luck. I would encourage you to see if you can attend the next meeting of the Operations Committee. It's my understanding that's the only committee of this board. I know there's 2 members, and that's really where all of the most important issues are discussed, and sometimes those issues don't even make it to this meeting for the public to see. So if the Operations Committee will allow you to attend their next meeting, I would suggest that would be the best place to go to learn about some of the problematic things that are going on here. I know that there's a number of things that the board has promised the public, including that there be a board retreat. It's my understanding there's still no date set for that, years after the promise. I know that the board promised HUD that they would complete the Lead the Way training, and that has not come through. So I would just encourage the board to look at the promises it's made and try to fulfill those promises. I have a question about the budget that was adopted tonight. Can you please just tell me how much money was reserved for legal fees for the year?
But do you have access to that? Charlie, I stopped the time when you ask questions. So
Thank you.
Remember to keep it.
$73,000 for all programs and operations.
73,000. Okay, so a big increase from the 18,000 last year.
Chair?
Yep.
Yes. Again, our budgets are typically done over a 3-year period when we look at the back of the 3 years of expenses. And that's, again, an estimate. Our overall budget is over $14 million, so that line item within there could potentially fluctuate depending on the demand for legal actions. But $73,000 in this year's budget.
And I would add, I'm on a number of boards. That's actually very reasonable legal fees for a government agency. You know that school boards, you know, our legal fees are significantly higher than that, so. Yeah.
Absolutely, and so I want to thank the board and the council for getting me more information about those legal fees. Since January 2015, you've paid Manfredi and Pilecchio more than $201,000 to represent this board, and I've gotten to see the invoices now, and it's not all my fault, as some people have alleged. Also, I had to file litigation to find this out, but there's an attorney called James Horvath who's been representing this board, who was paid $32,000, and that was not apparent from the response to Oprah requests until after litigation was filed, so that's problematic. I'd also point out that the Valence firm, to represent the authority in redevelopment matters, has been paid $86,679 during the same time period. And I know that the resolution approving their contract states that the redevelopers are supposed to repay the housing authority for that. Can anyone tell me if any of the redevelopers have repaid the housing authority for any of that $86,000?
Chair, the redevelopment agreements require an escrow deposit be maintained. Escrow funds are utilized to pay portions of the redeveloper fees that are not paid directly to subsequent invoices. So, yes.
Okay. How about for situations like the Easton Avenue apartments? I know a lot of work was done by the Valence firm on that recent deal for the Easton Avenue apartments. Has that been paid from escrow?
Easton Avenue apartments it's a fee-for-service action. So because it's not a redevelopment that's currently active, fees from the actual tenancies are utilized to pay for any legal bills or other administrative expenses from that action. So I guess yes. I mean, I don't know. So the bills are paid from fee revenue,
So,
whether it's through lease fee or through other types of fee revenue from that building.
So there's a lot of supplemental revenue that we have because of being a development agency and other things, and so there are legal fees that go with every one of those developments. This is New Jersey, the lawyers get paid. And so from the revenue from those things, so when you look at the budget, it looks like they're spending a whole lot on it, but it's actually coming back because it's a net revenue positive.
Okay. I hope to be able to obtain records to verify this, so I have requested check registries for the past 3 years and other things, and I hope that I'll be able to obtain them without having to pay the lawyers even more, because at the end of the day, you guys are volunteers, and I respect what you do, and I feel like, sometimes, it can be like a bad divorce, where the lawyers make all the money, and, both of us are just left fighting with one another. And so I don't want that to continue. I want to work with the board to try to resolve things without paying the lawyers any more than they need to be paid. I do additionally want to raise a concern. I think it's great that we have a resident council now, and I think that they are going to do good work for the tenants here. But I think a lot of the issues that get brought up by the tenants are issues that could be addressed by some of the staff members who aren't here. So the property manager, for instance, I've watched videos of other housing authorities, and they have staff members who are there to be able to address the questions during the meeting. And so it puzzles me why the property manager's not here. I think that the board should be asking for her to attend, and maybe some of these other staff members whose names keep coming up when concerns are raised. So I think that's one way to improve. I also want to understand the process for which the waiting list was opened in 2017. That was news to me. I was surprised to learn that applications were accepted in 2017 for public housing. Did the board know about this? Is there anything you could tell me about the...
Chair, you get a time, but I can tell you, so our senior waiting list actually is open. The senior waiting list is kept open, it doesn't close.
Constant, yeah.
Because it has a substantial turnover, because of the population that it serves, we try to keep that list open pretty much throughout the years, and it has been. It remains open right now, and we never really turn down senior applications. So that remains open. It's not necessarily something like a two-bedroom waiting list that we just opened where we go out and do it. But the senior waiting list is typically open.
Constantly. Yes, thank you. Last question, I just want to ask about the HUD subsidy and the capital fund allocation. It was mentioned tonight in the budget that the subsidy is known, but the capital fund amount is not yet known. Can you tell me, did the subsidy go up or down or stay the same? And is there any indication whether the Department of Housing and Urban Development is going to punish the authority for some of the items in the audit report? As they mentioned, they recommended, I believe, taking away some of the capital funds. Is there any indications that that's going to happen?
Well, we're beyond the 5 minutes, but I want you, John, if you could respond.
Sure. So our operating subsidy allocation amount is a formula-driven amount. We have not received notice as to what that will be yet on an annual basis. but we received some money. We didn't necessarily get a breakdown of what it was. That amount is relatively stagnant. It's pretty much the same as we usually get, with a little increase for utility costs and some other items. The capital fund allocation amount, the capital fund allocation release has not occurred. We've heard some general amounts, but we've not received any notice from HUD formally. There is no finalization on the other items with the HUD, and we continue to work back and forth with the area office. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to conclude that shortly, so we don't have a resolution to that.
The amounts you've heard, are they higher or lower? Or same?
We don't know because they haven't been formally given to us yet. And again, the budget amounts essentially are subject to proration. So even if they were to say to us, you're getting $1, we couldn't say, hey, we're getting $1, because HUD then prorates the dollar to 85 cents. So we have no idea what the prorations are going to be, nor if there is going to be a challenge from the administration to the amount that HUD actually allocates, which apparently has happened at some points for some of the budget items that came, where Congress approved a certain amount and then the administration basically challenged that amount. So, I guess the bottom line is we just haven't been notified.
So everything's up in the air. So Charlie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
My name is Catherine Garucci out of 21 Carter Road in the Ville. I just want to thank Mr. Clark and everybody for allowing us to start a committee. I just want everybody to know, we know this is not going to happen as quick as a lot of people want. But this is our way to be able to work with Mr. Clark and be able to, like, when it's like one-on-one with us and him. It's kind of hard because there's 3 people in the office. And it's, you know, you go to them and you give them a work order, then you come back and you yell at him. He's already handed it over. It's out of his hands. They try, you know, so I'm just hoping that, you know, like, we'll be able to answer you guys' questions also and help you and be able to, you know, help Mr. Clark. Because I've watched, you know, the videos and stuff when you send it and people come and they're yelling and, I mean, we understand everybody's upset. But again, it's also paper trail. If you have a problem and you go to the office, make a copy, have them sign it, you have a copy. You said before, 30 to 60 days to do work orders. If you have that and give it to us, then we can say something for you. Then there's no, you know what I'm saying? Then we can go, Mr. Clark. But it's going to be, it's a process. This is something we have to work on. You know, we're going to try, but we all live here. That's why we need to work together. You know, there's questions we need to ask also. So, I mean, give us a chance.
She's not being answered. She's asking questions. She's been a resident over here for over 20-something years, and her question hasn't been answered. So how can they work together and you start responding with her?
But that's why we're saying, once we meet with Mr. Clark, you know, then we're working with him. So if you got a problem, and maybe we can then talk to Mr. Clark. Because it's hard, because you go there and then you're yelling and screaming at Steve. Oh, my roof is still not fixed. But he's already handed it over to somebody. All he can do is call that person, you know? So their thing is, it's another person that they had to hand it to. Now that person's supposed to do it. So this way, you know, every time you come here, then it's like, well, Mr. Clark, did you get their name and address? And he hasn't heard because he's taking care of other things. They get that information, it has to go to him. So one way of doing it is, our group, when we meet with him once a month, you know, we can try. I mean, it's not going to work tomorrow.
I know that.
It's going to take time, but we're going to try to do that. Because look, I have a 16-year-old that lives here. That's why I'm leaving now, because they said something's going on over there. I got a 16-year-old. We live here. We want them safe.
And
I want my child safe.
Grandson that I was put out.
You know?
And the goal is to solve the problem.
Right.
And so one of the realities is that I say this every meeting, is that, you know, we're not only volunteers, but we're policy. You can sit here and say, my roof's leaking 100 times, my roof is doing this.
Right.
Guess what? We go to Mr. Clark and we say, Mr. Clark, what's the story?
Right.
And so, you know, so coming and yelling here doesn't really solve your problem.
Right.
And I think some people have come up here and yelled at us and then never told anybody. And so we don't do anything other than, so the key is, and this is why I'm so excited about this, please make sure. Now, if the resident council asks about something and there's no response, then she'll come up here and say, we've asked about it, and she has the legitimate
And we have
right
it
to
in
say.
writing.
That's not my question.
Right.
My question is, what I was addressing, that there's people still living here.
Well, but we answer that. We're looking at those people
Not
to get
just
them
about
out.
my daughter, not just only that, I'm just saying that there's people, houses have been raided, and still, they still residing here.
Yeah, but
Still here.
remember, we answered that. So
Okay.
he's working with the police to address that very issue, and I appreciate you bringing it. But we're not gonna solve it tonight, saying.
I know
it
you're
again.
not. I know.
But we're looking at that, and I appreciate you bringing it. Yes.
Gretchen Spencer, new, 21, I'm glad. 2 Jennings Court. I wanna welcome Mr. Dunlap. And hope we'll be able to work together, so they can tell you
Likewise.
about me. Once we start this resident council, because we're gonna be starting next month, we will send out flyers when it's gonna start, okay? We will be meeting here, we're gonna try to have it on Saturday mornings. We're gonna have the bill come first at 12 o'clock, and then Right Place will come in afterwards. And we're gonna have 2 meetings on once a month. We're gonna try to do this. And we're gonna take care of everybody's concerns and answer their questions. Right now, we can't do anything because we haven't, got through our process, and we have to go through Mr. Clark. We gotta sit down and talk, and then we'll let everybody know we're gonna start our resident council meetings. So right now, we can't even answer none of your questions until next month. And try to help you. So once we get through that, then we'll see what's happening. But right now, we can't answer a thing because the resident council, we haven't been able to get what we need done yet. And then next month, that's when we're gonna start having once a month meetings, and we're gonna try to have them on a Saturday, like what, the 3rd, did we say, Lawrence?
Saturday.
The 3rd Saturday of each month. So when we do that, we'll send the flyers out and let y'all know, okay?
Yes.
And then we can all sit down, y'all can air your grievances, and then we can try to write them down. We'll write them down and go back to Mr. Clark and talk to him and them about this. Then we're gonna try to have one meeting with John Clark and them here. Well, that's what we wanna do. Then also, we wanna have one meeting with the police department here, with the residents. So we let them know how it works over there, because we are still part of the city. Just because we in the Ville or Right Place, that don't mean we can do whatever we want to do. This is where some kids are thinking right now, because this is federal government property. The cops can't do nothing. Bull.
This is the city of New Brunswick.
This is part of the city of New Brunswick. The cops can come in here and snatch you up if they have to. So these kids are thinking they can't touch me because I'm in the Ville. That's why we got so much drug problems going on out there now. We got a fight going on right now. A fight, I ain't get out the Ville good. Walk past everybody, I said something ain't right. Get here, and that's what I'm hearing. I see cops galore going up in the Ville.
Thank you. The only thing I would add is that the resident council can take complaints,
Oh,
but
yeah.
also compliments too.
I understand that.
Compliment, and I want to hear some good things.
No.
So things are, hey, they fixed my roof, because I've heard people say that. They don't come to the meeting to say that. But both good and bad.
We trying to work, we're trying to get this together now so we can let the residents know, the head of households, and some of these apartments are filled to the gills. There are too many people in them. We got too many people. There's about 15 people living in 2-bedroom apartments. It's more than that in 3. Some of these people are renting out their back rooms. This has got to stop.
They know it.
If you see something, say something.
All the time.
And I know you do.
All the time.
But that's what the resident housing authority.
Now,
If you see
that's
people
what
who
the
shouldn't be
resident
here
council is.
that are making this place unsafe, we
Right.
need your help.
Right.
We need your help.
Look,
I don't-
when I walked through the building today, my mind was to make a phone call. But something said, wait a minute. That's why my phone was ringing off the hook.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Did you want to?
No, I just need to talk to her for 2 seconds about that thing.
Let's go.
He's over there right now.
Oh, he's over there right now?
So-
All right, we'll
so-
talk to
so
him.
We may have to
when I
get
go
out,
over
may
there.
have to get,
Yeah.
anything else
Yeah.
before we,
Yeah.
okay, we have a crisis, I guess.
Sorry, Lawrence Dargan, 1133 Jennings Court. Again, we'd like to thank you guys for helping us with the Tenants Association. Excuse me?
She said you're the chairman.
Oh, yeah, I'm the vice chairman.
Oh, vice chairman, okay.
It's a new beginning for everything, like for all the tenants and for us. It's just a new beginning. So at this point, it's still fresh. We're a baby. We're crawling. We don't expect this. It's a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not gonna happen overnight. We plan on working with you guys fully, and hopefully you guys will work with us. And then hopefully we can let off a little bit of pressure that you guys are getting. That we can take some of the little from you guys. Again, we just need a better turnout. Like if we keep talking to the same six people know what's going on, and then we have a blind side of everybody else. So in the process of that, we're gonna try to open up. That we got me personally, if I gotta go knock on doors, if I gotta get a translator to walk around with me, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's a crawl. We're gonna get there. Thank you guys for giving us this opportunity. And we're going to just use it to the best of our ability to help everybody get stuff done. Because everybody, at the end of the day, everybody wants a safer neighborhood. That's all what we're all about. Everybody want to live better than what we're living. But if we're the same six people is here, then okay, those 6 apartments might get fixed, and then we got 200, 300 more apartments that need to get done, and they're all sitting around with questions. So, like I said, we're gonna, it's a sprint. I mean, it's a marathon. We're gonna get it done. Just thank you guys for giving us this opportunity.
But thank you for stepping up to do this. And let's give them a round of applause for stepping up. We need your help. We need your help. And I don't mind being yelled at. What frustrates me sitting here is we can't do anything about half the things we hear about. So it's not, I don't mind being yelled at, but if I can't help you, then we're here to help. We're here to work through the executive director to do that. So thank you all very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it. We don't have a closed session, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde? Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Okay. Chair, did you say?